the Parks, Recreation, and Public Spaces Committee meeting. We've got 3 items on the agenda. First is just talking about Hunter Park and the community garden that has been made up there. So this has been a community effort headed by Paul Boyes and a number of other residents up in Ward 4. So he has been working hard on that. It is mostly done.
Good start.
Okay, good start. So I went up and helped with that, but he wanted to name the garden, commemorating a resident of Norwood. So we're going to invite him here to kind of talk about his influence, what he wants to name it, and why, and just a little bit about life. So go ahead, take it away, Paul.
Okay, great. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to do the garden. I'm like a kid in the candy shop with a 40-foot by 50-foot plot. So it's great. Thank you for that. So I would love to name this garden Emily's Garden. Emily was a resident here in Norwood who passed away fall of 2022. And I knew her just briefly, but Emily was a wonderful person. And when I met her shortly after she was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, what was remarkable about Emily, she struggled with that as anybody would emotionally, but she was able to have an outlook on life that beauty could change anything. So she's a person of deep Christian faith, and she would say, my illness doesn't define me. The outcome doesn't define me. One day I'll be healed. Pretty convincing thing for somebody to believe that, right, in that phase. So I love the idea of naming this garden after Emily, because I do feel Fourth Warders are maybe a little down and out, and there's an outcome that seems to be coming that's not so great, or just a legacy of things not turning the corner so well. I've heard that repeated a couple times, even in the garden. And I do like the way Emily's story of her hope of transformation beyond reasonable outcome. I think it connects to what we're doing with this garden. This garden is, among many things, it's a place to build a community, but it's also a symbol of transition to beauty. So I think that Emily, in her, just the spirit of who she was, the sense of who she was, putting her name would represent what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And that's my spiel.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that's a really worthy thing to name it after. And I'm glad that, even though you know who briefly, she touched you so much that you can commemorate her in this way. I'm sure people who knew her would also love that. So are you planning on buying a sign? I didn't know how you might want that to be named.
So I'm not the best at aesthetics, but it's probably going to be, there will be an arbor over the entrance and just a simple sign that would say Emily's Garden.
Great.
I think that would be it. Of course, as I talk to people, I would tell them as much as they want to know about Emily, because she's an amazing person.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's wonderful. And I'm really excited to come up there and see it kind of in full bloom. Yeah. I know it's a huge effort to get a garden going. Yeah. Candace is part of the Williams Avenue Community Garden.
Okay. Yeah.
So she deals with some of the similar stuff.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see. I wish I had more time to help out with a community garden like that. I'm glad that other folks are able to.
I'm meeting Fourth Warders every day that I'm in the park.
That's great.
Who are excited about what you have done and are telling me they're so nobody in Norwood has ever done anything nice for this park, but now they have.
Yeah.
They love the dog park, they love the walking path, and people are giving me their phone numbers. People who've lived there for 40 years, 3 years, a wide variety of people. So I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Tomorrow the plumbing should go in. So we have water, we can plant, it'll grow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one exciting thing. So I would be remiss in saying that a lot of the changes were in great part due to Chris Kelch and the previous Parks Committee. They kind of headed that up with Michael Gabbard and other folks.
Okay.
But I'm really excited that people are using it and appreciating it.
It's a huge win.
Yeah.
The residents really love it.
And I'm glad that people are, seeing that and then, like you, making it even better.
Yeah, they're beginning to believe that something different could happen in the Fourth Ward, which is good.
Yeah, and I mean, Hunter Park had such disused and kind of unsuitable playground equipment, and it's nice to see people there using it and, now gardening with their dogs and stuff. So, I'm excited to see it come into fruition and excited to help with the plumbing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. You guys have any questions?
Just a couple. I was not able to come and help out, and I know the weather was not great for you guys, so thanks for persevering. Will you be doing the garden all at once or in stages?
Yeah, in stages, I think is the short answer. And I can, do you want me to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sure.
That'd be lovely, thank you.
So right now, what we did is we kind of did the outline of the garden itself, and then we're slowly building the vegetable plots. It's going to take some time because the soil is not great for gardening the way it is, so we're going to try and augment it with compost. Earliest time that we can do vegetable gardening, we're hoping for a fall crop. But before then, we can plant raspberry canes as soon as we have water, which would be this week. Raspberry canes that I'm getting donated and wildflower gardens. So we'll have a pollinator garden and raspberry canes and probably some herbs this year. But then the full release where it's actually community and people have plots, fall, there's going to be an early pilot group, and then next spring where we'll have it released to, probably 20 or 25 plots for people to use.
20 to 25 plots.
It's a lot of
It's a good
Phenomenal.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll take more if I can have it.
Yeah, and I also want to note for anyone watching that this is all community volunteer-led. This is not something the city has done anything for besides, was Clint able to help you move the brush?
Yes.
Good.
He got
Good.
brush removed.
So, yeah, they had a big work day, had a bunch of people come out, removed a lot of the brush and get the wood chips for the paths, get the plots kind of set up. So, and then the Gem of the Highlands 5K is going to be donating money to provide money for the plumbing. So,
Yes.
just wanted to note that for anyone watching. But because I think it's really important. This is not just something that we are like, hey, look, you guys want a community garden, right? Like, it's something that Paul approached and other people were passionate about, and I'm really glad that we're able to support them in whatever way we can.
There's a lot of good synergy coming in on this. Gem of the Highlands, I was asked, how could I fund the plumbing, and I didn't have an answer. So I appreciate you coming through on that. And then just a lot of different people who are willing to help out to build. I have a friend who's building cherry benches that will get installed in the next couple weeks. I mean, it's going to be a lovely space. It will really be beautiful. Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Have you heard of, or you probably know, so we did this recently at the Williams Avenue Community Garden as we partnered with the Common Urban Orchard Project.
No.
I'll send you some info for that. That was super exciting. I mean, have you seen the space, the community garden there?
Just some pictures on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great space, but it's not necessarily like humongous. But yeah, they'll come out and they kind of just assess, and they have like education. So I'm one of the stewards, so they'll have like, hey, we're doing a pruning workshop. Hey, we're doing this. Chris Smith runs it, but one of their main goals is to connect all of the urban gardens and orchards within the city. So it can say, okay, this one really makes great compost. And so we have one that we can kind of, or hey, we all need this, we can order it in bulk. And just come out and be like, hey, this is where you could plant some possible fruit trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just something to think of down the line. I know it's new and
Yeah,
there's a
that's
lot
great.
to do.
Yeah.
But they were a great connection. Because one thing I've learned just in my gardening is I love perennials. I love things that just come back on their own, and like the fruit trees, we talked about that. He's, it's like, 30 minutes, once it gets established, 30 minutes a month of
Yes.
labor and, work, which has been something with the community garden. We've kind of have the ebbs and flows of,
Participation. Sure.
and so those fruit trees, raspberry bushes, blackberries, currants, all of those are additions that have been productive. We get fruit. I'm not so good at the annual stuff, so. But I can send you that info
That
if
would be
you want to
wonderful.
check it out.
Yeah.
Procedurally, I love the idea of naming it Emily's Garden. I was an oncology social worker for 10 years, so I did psychotherapy for cancer patients. So that really speaks to me
Yeah.
and know about that particular resilience with cancer patients. Procedurally, how would we go about
So,
moving that forward?
so Noah had sent it to us in committee. What we would do is send it out to committee, say we approve this, and basically draft a resolution saying that the city is happy to acknowledge this community garden being named after this resident. say a few words about using probably the words that you used in your email, like what this person meant to you and to other folks in the area. And so like, be it resolved that this community garden is hereafter named Emily's Garden. This is something that the law department would draft up, and then we would just pass it, and be officially that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not like we're changing any signage or like doing anything. It's just us saying, yep, it's fine that you would name it that. You're not naming it anything that we don't approve of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty simple resolution. We'll probably get it into the next council meeting. But yeah, well,
Okay.
that'll be it.
Great. Okay.
You guys know anything else for us, Paul?
I don't think so.
Awesome.
Thanks
Well,
again for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so
I
much
love
for
the
coming,
garden.
and apologies again for the warm room.
It's okay.
That
We're
just
gonna
makes
move through real
this
fast
committee
tonight.
meeting real snappy. Yeah, so I will email the law department and Noah just saying like we talked to you and said it looked all good, and we'll get that passed. And I'll let you know if it's on the next council meeting. It should be. It's I would think, a pretty simple resolution to draft. So,
Okay.
yep.
Terrific.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll look for an email.
Yes.
Yes. All right, the second item on the agenda is Upper Millcrest basketball hoop, which I literally just got information about like 3 hours ago. So now I'm like, oh. So the administration, because of the parking lot and the area there, that's used a lot for baseball, for parking, and there's not really a place that a basketball hoop would work that would not interfere with parking there. It's not something that they're interested in pursuing at this time. Some folks have been looking at a grant through Dick's Sporting Goods to try to fund like a half-court basketball court there, but I think that may not be viable at this time. The other issue is that the Dick's Sporting Goods thing, it is a national grant, and those are very hard to get because you're competing against a ton of people, some of whom have more resources. And we had some difficulties as far as like the minimum amount of money we could ask for would be right at the top end of what would actually cost for us. And yeah, so we're gonna look into something like with that, something more easy. I wanna talk to some folks and just see if we can have some sort of basketball hoop somewhere, even if it's just in the corner of a different parking lot in that area, because I know there's a lot of kids and teens that like to play basketball there, and I wanna make sure that they have a place to play it, even if it's not like an official court. But that is kind of where that stands right now. I think we're going to try to pursue that grant, but try to use one of the soccer associations. They've been trying to redo that field down at Lower Millcrest, use the money for that. This grant is only for sports fields, only for playing fields. It can't be used for anything else. And they have some strictures as far as like it has to be, there have to be official youth organizations that use it, or you have to have some official leagues. So there are a lot of strings attached. So we'll see. That, like I said, just heard 3 hours ago, so I don't have any other information about that. All right, third item on the agenda was just kind of general discussion about parks and things you may have heard, ideas that you've had. I don't know, with Marsh Park, you wanted to update with the survey. Figured this would be a good time, so you're welcome to do that.
Sure.
If that makes sense. I know you don't have to do it through the whole slideshow.
Yeah,
but
I
like-
do have a PowerPoint presentation, which we're not doing because it is 100 degrees in here. If anyone would like the full results of this, the first part, which is the survey, I'm happy to share it. We'll also be doing a community conversation, maybe 2 separate ones. I want to talk to you guys about what you think would be the best way of doing that. But I did get I got 84 responses. It's been posted on social media since April. We had flyers distributed to over 200 neighbors. The QR code with a sign is at the park. So I feel like we did a pretty good job of trying to reach out to folks. The questions we asked were how close you are to the park, have you been to the park in the last year? Obviously, people that live close to the park and utilize the park, their responses carry a little more weight. Real quick, the 3 general ideas we had was to have the half basketball court refurbished. 84% said yes. There were some concerns and some thoughts. Some people were very excited about that. Some people would rather have a pickleball court. Some were saying that that might be too noisy for neighbors. And other people are saying that they'd like to have more green space. Let's see. Would you be interested in having a mosaic bench and or walkway? We had 78% said yes, 22% no. Some of the thoughts were they really want to focus on it being a park being shaded, again, open green space. Some other really lovely ideas, having a labyrinth that would be the opposite of open green space, but just some other ideas. Community garden had 63% said yes. Concerns around the garden would be ongoing maintenance, concerns that there might be better parks for this. Some think it would be a phenomenal idea, just like the Williams Garden and now the Hunter Park Garden. We did get over, let me think, 14 people said that they would be interested in helping out with the community garden and gave contact information. So that is a nice beefy group that at least could have a conversation if that's the direction we want to go. And then in the general comments, we did get quite a bit of general comments, and I divided them into sort of the things I'd like to see in the park, which would be updated playground equipment, dog waste bags, more garbage cans, water fountain, those sorts of things. Other folks commented on the more historical piece of it, liking the idea of the plaque. One requested renaming the park. Marsh Park, it was Marsh Avenue. Marsh is not named after anyone in particular. So I don't really have an issue with the name as much, but that was some feedback. Our usual splash pad, everyone wants a splash pad. I can't remember how much Noah said it would cost to do a splash pad, but it was enough that made my heart stop.
It's six figures.
Yeah, so I'm
It's a
pretty
lot.
sure we're not gonna be able to make a splash pad happen. And just some general thoughts. Thank you for helping to beautify and keep our community growing. Some really sweet comments like that. So we're gonna take these comments along with the information we gathered from the community meetings and then make some decisions on how we want to.
There's a strange noise that suddenly happened. We're not just,
I've never heard that before.
it's fine.
It's like on the bench or something.
Okay. Yeah,
Anyway.
normal
So-
noise.
I think it's all good. So we'll take all that together and then in the community discussion, decide which direction we want to move in. So this will be very collaborative. There's not a rush. We did put the grant was submitted last month. We won't know if we get, I'm sorry, not the grant, the application for the marker was put in last month. We will know later this summer if we will be recipients or not. So that's what's going on, and I'll be sending out information about the community discussions in probably a week or two. That's what I got. Thank you.
Great, awesome. Look forward to seeing the full results. The thing I had was I talked to Clint and Noah about a month or so ago, kind of about the park survey and the next steps as far as trying to use some of the money to focus on Burwood. So I presented some ideas kind of based on what people wanted. The one rub is that we do have $30,000 approximately earmarked for park improvements this year, but the middle Millcrest, lower Millcrest parking lot is one of the things that Clinton Noah especially wanted to try to focus on because it's in desperate need of repairs. So that might be where that $30,000 goes, but I am looking at other ways of procuring funding for Burwood. So some of the things that I proposed would be basically fencing off half of the park and making it a child play zone with some interactive kind of like climbing, tunneling, exploring type of play equipment, more of a natural feel, and hopefully some native plantings in the kind of less accessible corner of the park that's wet and nasty right now. So that's kind of what I pitched, and we have that area next to the picnic shelter that's kind of has some places for smaller kids to play, but having something for larger kids to play on. Make it something that people want to go to and hang out in, that kids can or parents can let their kids run around in that fenced-in area with play stuff and not have to worry about them running out into the street or whatever. That's kind of what I thought would be a good use of money if we can use that money. So I'm going to check it back in with them and see what the administration feels like with that. But that's kind of where my head was at with the park survey stuff. So.
Are you going to be looking at any matching grants for those?
Yes, but I need to, there's a couple smaller grants that altogether might provide enough money to do some of the play equipment. Okay. The big thing would be making sure that we have the people to be able to install it, because that adds extra cost. The play equipment itself is pretty reasonably priced, but the installation can be a bit more of a challenge for funding. So. You got anything, Candace, or?
I would just think on thoughts on that, on what the ground would be, grass, mowing, that kind of stuff. So, again, just more things to consider.
Yeah, I figured if we fence it in, there could be gates that could be opened to get the mowers in and, let the kids in and out, I guess.
Yeah.
Could just leave them in there, maybe. But I don't approve of that, actually. Just saying that out loud. But, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay.
I'm going to see if they had gotten any quotes for the paving thing, because if it ends up being super expensive, it may not be even feasible this year, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Because it's a pretty large parking lot, although it's well used, it is definitely going to be a pretty penny to get it repaved.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, cool. Well, I know it's hot, so I'm gonna get out of here.
Melting.
Thank you all for attending, and thank you, Steve, and I'll see you all here next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thank you.